Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about TSA PreCheck
and travel tips. So come get lost with us.
So one of the interesting things I think we've learned about since traveling is the appreciation of having the ability to go through TSA PreCheck. Now, I think we shouldn't have TSA at all, but that's not going anywhere.
No, I mean it could if we actually got behind it and forced it out, but yeah, it's rather unlikely.
But going from like traveling standard and having to stand in the standard security line, especially at major airports like Atlanta, what's another big one I've flown out of? Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Well, Phoenix is a big one.
Yeah.
Seattle is a big one.
So those can take like a really long time in standard security.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've waited an hour, if not longer, before just to get to the front of the line for security. Only to be told, like, take everything out, take off your shoes. You gotta, because you do, in regular security, you have to take off your shoes, take off your hats, take off your belts,
Your jackets, anything in your pockets.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. Everything has to be removed. And then it also depends on the day of the week. Sometimes they don't make you take off your shoes. Mm-hmm. Most of the times they do. That's one of the things that I have the problem with when it just comes to this whole system in general.
Airport to airport, it's different.
Airport to airport, person to person in that airport. There's no consistency. There's no anything. They'll just do whatever the hell they want to do. When you think about it, TSA PreCheck is basically you just go in this line and they do your check faster. Clear, you have to use your face as like a form of identification. It scans your face and then you basically move into the same line that TSA PreCheck is. So it's not, It can be faster depending on, some airports have different lines for TSA PreCheck and Clear. Some don't, like the Atlanta does not. So like you go through Clear, then you wait in line and then you join in basically with the TSA PreCheck at the scanners. That's how it works in Atlanta. Seattle, it was two separate lines, so you kind of go different ways and they have different machines for each one. So it just kind of depends on the airport, depends on how it physically shakes out. But like Nancy said, it is so worth it, but still confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Last time I went through the TSA PreCheck, they had to swab my phone. So my phone went through the machine and got scanned, and then I had to go through, put my stuff back on, give them my phone, and then they wiped around the edge of my phone and had that scanned.
Which has never happened.
For what?
That has never happened.
Like, just the ridiculousness of it is next level. My belt constantly sets off the metal detector. And when I worked for the court system, one of the things I talked about with the police officer who was running their scan thing is like, oh yeah, they can easily tune that out because it's a different type of metal that's used in a gun that's used in a belt. But they just choose not to.
Which
and
is
it's like
ridiculous.
This absolute nightmare that this scenario has become is just like, how can we degrade you even further and make sure that, you know
what they need.
Yeah, make sure that you don't forget that you need us, even though you're not doing anything.
I know for me, regardless of what I have on myself, I always get a swabbed. Like my pump always gets swabbed every time. And then depending on the airport, sometimes I get a pat down too. It just depends on, and I honestly, I have found the less I fight and like stick my nose up at it, the quicker they are. Like literally, like if I hand them my pump, they don't even have 2 seconds to think about patting me down. So I just hand them my pump and they're like, oh, okay. And they do the swab thing and they let me go. But I have found like if I don't, like if I'm not like, hey, I have my pump and like do this, do that, then they're all like, oh, well, let's give you a pat down. And I have learned to just be like, here you go. Like this isn't my first rodeo. I'm going to help you make this line go faster.
Right.
And it's stupid, but it's because I wear an insulin pump and a continuous glucose monitor, and that happens whether I'm in PreCheck or the regular line. Regular line is a lot worse and more stringent. I have found that on the PreCheck line, I can literally, like, especially if they just have the metal detectors, I can take it off, hand it to them, go through the metal detector, and everything's cool.
Yeah. Then the thing too, like, it depends on how much staff they have at the TSA PreCheck, because sometimes it does take a while, because then they have to go get someone to sexually assault you and touch every part of your body, you know, so they have to go find somebody who can do that.
They have to find a female for me, yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I didn't want to be, groped, but I do need to take this plane flight,
Yeah, it's like, well, I have no other options. Like,
Yeah.
you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I feel like anybody who has like a medical disability and some type of physical thing that has to like go through all this security at check, like there should be a way to get a waiver. There should be a way somewhere, because I'm sorry, I just don't think people are hiding shit in prosthetics to blow planes up. Like, I just don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been shown that they haven't actually done anything of value and stopped anything. But like, it's definitely worth it though. It definitely saves you time. Sometimes the lines, like at Atlanta specifically, like when we've flown out of Atlanta, the line can be over an hour long, and they'll tell you it's going to be over an hour for the regular stuff.
Which is insane.
So it's definitely worth it. Whether you get TSA PreChecked or clear though, they're about the same thing.
Yeah.
There's not much difference to them. And it's kind of just whatever you're more comfortable in.
Some credit cards do give you either a discount or you get clear for free. So check your credit card, especially travel credit cards. A lot of times they will have something where you get a discount on clear or you get it for free. Sometimes with TSA PreCheck as well. So it just depends. Travel company to travel company, but definitely look into that if you're looking at getting it. Clear has to be done every year, whereas TSA PreCheck is every 5 years.
Something too to note is like go to your actual airport and see which line works better for you, because you can see at some airports there's no one in clear. Other airports, there's a ton of people in clear. Same thing with TSA PreCheck. Sometimes you'll see a bunch in that line, and then other times they won't be there. They'll be in clear. So it's important to go to your actual airport, especially the one you're going to be flying out of the most, and doing a little look around. Like, is this one faster? Is this one slower? Then decide which one you want to go to. Because again, from a process perspective, they take about the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, basically for TSA PreCheck, you show them your ticket to get in line that it says TSA PreCheck on it. And then basically you just give them your ID and they scan your ID through, and it's all based on your driver's license. So if your driver's license is correctly entered, then they'll allow you to pass. If it's not, then they won't. Clear, it's just your face scan. So, you're kind of switching between a face scan and your driver's license, but you still have to give them your driver's license for clear. So it's not like that's not something that you're going to have to do.
Yeah, you've had an issue with TSA PreCheck where your ticket didn't match your driver's license. Even though it printed out TSA PreCheck on your ticket, you went back there and it was still giving you crap. And then that was one of the biggest debacles we had with Alaskan.
Which we'll talk about later, different airlines. So if you're on YouTube, definitely check out our full podcast on our Patreon, and we'll talk about sort of different airlines and the issues with that. But yeah, TSA PreCheck can be a little bit of a nightmare ahead of time. One thing, and it's definitely a legit tip, is once you check in, if you have PreChecked or clear, make sure to check your boarding pass to make sure it's on there, because if it's not, and you get to the airport, most of the times they won't change it to make it on there. Because they'll have to unbook you and then they'll have to rebook you, and that's just too much work for the people at the counters. So know that ahead of time. Definitely get on that phone and start calling immediately if you don't see the PreCheck on your actual ticket.
Agreed, because we have had to do that almost every flight to Seattle, one of us. Yep. And Delta, one of us has always had to call too. So hopefully when we go fly back to South Carolina, everything should be good. Your Delta.
This is the first time I've flown the Delta with the new updated information.
Okay, so we'll get to find out if it worked or not.
Yeah, and so but it's definitely worth it if you can get that part to work, just because the amount of time that you save is significant.
Agreed, and yeah, I just don't like waiting in those long lines.
I just don't like TSA in general. I think that it's an absolute scam, and it's become this nightmare situation where we're just punished for using air travel because we're stuck using it. There's no other options. It's not like we have high-speed rail or anything in this country that would be another option. So we're stuck with this horrible system, and they just abuse you in it because you have to use it.
And you can't bring liquids back, and all this
Well, it's not even liquids. Our toothpaste got stolen.
Yeah, they took our toothpaste in Atlanta, which was stupid.
It was okay, it's toothpaste. It's under 7 ounces, even though the container was 15. It was only a quarter of the way full. So it's less than 7 ounces. So that shouldn't have applied. And then when she was looking through your bag, she had no idea what she was looking for. She's trying to steal other stuff. And she's like, is there anything else in here I can take? She literally asked you. And it was like, what?
Yeah, it was weird.
What?
Again, one of the reasons I don't like flying out of Atlanta.
Yeah. It could just be an Atlanta thing, but it is what it is, right?
So,
sadly.
But yeah, so if you are planning a trip in the future and you're looking for an easier way to get from point A to point B without having to stand in a really long security line, it was only like $80, I think, in total for us to do TSA PreCheck, and it's good for 5 years. And pretty much every airport in the United States has TSA PreCheck.
Now, it is a little bit of work ahead of time. You did have to get all your documents together, like birth certificate, driver's license, I think social security card. Mm-hmm. And basically, we set up an appointment at one of the offices. Ours was inside of a Staples.
Which was nice.
But there are other places too. They actually have them at the airports as well. So you can actually schedule one to be at the airport. I don't know why you'd want to, because most airports charge you for parking. So it probably makes more sense to go to like a Staples or something, because you don't have to pay for the parking. But basically, you just bring your stuff in there. You sit there. They fill out the information. They take your picture.
Fingerprints.
And your fingerprints. And then in like less than a week, we got it in actually like a day.
Yeah, ours was in within 72 hours, I think. We had ours.
One of the annoying things, though, is that they don't actually send you anything. You just get an email with a number on it, and that's it.
Now, you can go back to the website and look up your number in case you misplace that email or something goes awry. But yeah, they don't send you anything physical for this.
Which is kind of ridiculous. We've gotten into a society where we just pay and we don't receive anything in return.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing physical that you get back from that. It's merely money for the government to process.
And it's basically, too, they connect it with TSA PreCheck to your driver's license. But for some odd reason, you have to keep putting it in, even though your driver's license now shows that you're TSA PreCheck. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that is like, why do we have to do all this extra steps if you should already have all these pieces together?
Agreed. But definitely worth it, like we said. So if you're going to travel more than twice in a year, I would say it's definitely worth investing. So then you can just kind of ease your way to the other side of TSA.
Or if your main sort of flyout is Atlanta, like one of those big airports.
Yeah.
Even just one time a year, they could be worth it for you.
True. And at only like $80.
Yeah.
It's not really that bad. So stick around, because we're going to keep talking about travel tips. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like the video.
Hit that subscribe button.
And make sure you ring that notification bell so that way you're notified when we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we'll come and get you for the next one.
Ain't that the truth, baby Ruth?
Bye, everybody.
Bye.